He turned down a girl who wanted to stay the night, quietly slid his bank card back into his wallet, took out his ID, his driver's license, stared at them for a second like they belonged to someone else, and then he got rid of all of it. He donated every dollar of his college scholarship, burned the last bit of cash he had, abandoned his only car after ripping off the license plates, and pointed himself north, toward a place most people only talk about when they want to feel brave. Alaska. And there is the thing. This wasn't a guy who had nothing to lose. This was a guy who had everything. His name, at least the one he was born with, was Evan Cole. Evan grew up in a clean house, in a good neighborhood, with parents who looked perfect in photos. His father was sharp, successful, the kind of man who shook hands like he meant business. His mother was elegant, composed, always smiling in public, always holding things together just long enough for guests to leave. From the outside, they were the kind of family people pointed at and said, "They made it." Inside that house, though, things were louder. Sharper. Meaner. Evan learned early that money didn't take arguments, it amplified them. When his parents fought, it wasn't about love, it was about control, about appearances, about who owed who what. Doors slammed. Voices rose. Silence followed. Then came the pretending. He and his younger sister would sit in their rooms, listening, learning how to disappear. By the time Evan reached college, disappearing had become second nature. On paper, he was impressive. Strata student. Top of his class. Scholarships stacked high enough to pay for 4 years without blinking. Professors loved him. Recruiters noticed him. When he graduated, he ran up to the stage like a wild horse breaking free of a fence, not because he was proud, but because it finally felt like something was ending. His parents threw a big celebration. Fancy dinner. Speeches. Smiles. They told everyone Evan had the grades to get into Harvard Law. They hinted at a brand new car as a reward. Sounded like a gift, but it sounded like a leash. Evan smiled through it. Inside, something in him shut down. Later that night, after the guests left and the house went quiet, he told them he didn't want any of it. Not the car, not the law school. Not the future they planned. His father took that personally. His mother took it as embarrassment. They argued. Again. Loud enough for the walls to remember. That was the night Evan realized something simple and terrifying. He didn't hate his parents. He hated the life they represented. The money. The pretending. The endless chase for status that never seemed to make anyone happier. So 2 years after graduation, while his friends were settling into careers, apartments, routines, Evan did something that made absolutely no sense to anyone else. He walked away. He gave his scholarship money to charity without telling a soul. He cut up his credit cards. Threw away his ID. Even tossed out the photo of himself with his parents, the one he used to carry everywhere, the one where they all looked like they belonged together. Then he got in his old car and started driving. No destination. No plan. Used movement. For Evan, movement meant freedom. The road welcomed him at first. He slept in the car, parked where the wind couldn't reach him. Drove all day. Thought all night. Let memories surface and pass like clouds. It felt like shedding skin. Until one night, when he parked in what looked like a quiet, sheltered spot, unaware it was a flood zone. The rain came fast. Violent. A wall of sound. By morning, the car that had protected him was wrecked beyond repair, dragged and crushed by rushing water. Evan stood there, soaked, shaking, watching the last physical thing tying him to his old life disappear. It didn't curse. It didn't cry. He ripped off the license plates, burned the rest of his cash, and walked away. That was the day Evan stopped being Evan. He gave himself a new name. Caleb Reed. A drifte. A wanderer. A nobody. 2 months later, his parents realized he was gone. They called. Texted. Drove to his apartment. Nothing. Eventually, they hired a private investigator. The only thing anyone found was the abandoned license plate. His sister understood immediately. She knew her brother wasn't missing. It was gone on purpose. Caleb moved through the country like a ghost. Hitchhiking. Walking. Sleeping wherever the night allowed. Every ride was temporary. Every stop was optional. He listened more than he talked. Watched people closely. Learned their rhythms. Money, to him, had become a weight. He once told a couple who picked him up in a rusty RV, "When I had money, I was scared to lose it. When I lost it, I finally felt brave." They laughed, but they didn't forget him. That couple, Lena and Mark, were the first people Caleb stayed with longer than a few days. They lived on the road, argued quietly, loved each other loudly. Caleb noticed the tension before they did. Not cruelty, just fear. Old wounds. The kind that make people hesitate when happiness shows up. One night, sitting by a fire, Caleb said something simple that stuck. "You can't keep punishing the present for something that happened in the past." Lena cried. Mark held her. Caleb stared into the flames, thinking of his own parents, of love twisted by pride and money. He left before sunrise. That was his pattern. Stay long enough to matter. Leave before it got complicated. He worked odd jobs. Farms. Construction. Anything that paid just enough to keep him moving. At one farm, the owner, an older man with tired eyes, asked him what he was looking for. Caleb didn't hesitate. "I want to go to Alaska," he said. "Alone. No maps. No watches. Just me and the land. And when I come back, I'll write about it. People need to know freedom still exists." The man shook his head. Told him he was young. Said idealism gets people killed. Caleb smiled politely. Some people don't hear warnings. They hear invitations. When the farm owner was suddenly arrested and taken away, Caleb left again, and fast. Los had become familiar. Detachment was easier than grief. As he traveled, memories crept in, especially one. After high school, Caleb had driven his old car halfway across the country to visit a childhood friend. That's when he accidentally learned the truth his parents had buried for years. His mother had been the other woman. His father had another family. He and his sister were secrets. The love story he grew up hearing was a lie. That knowledge didn't make him angry. It made everything feel fake. Like the ground beneath his feet wasn't solid anymore. So when Caleb saw a small kayak shop one night, lit softly against the dark, something clicked. He buried his belongings under a bridge, walked into an office, asked where he could legally paddle downriver. They told him he needed permits. Years of waiting. Or money. He laughed. Bought the kayak anyway. The river was wild. Fast. Dangerous. He was terrified and alive in equal measure. Patrol boats chased him. He escaped. Drifted for days. Met other drifters. Swam with whales. Lived alone in a cave for over a month. Eventually, a storm took his kayak. Nature always collects its dues. Back in the city, without papers, without identity, Caleb struggled. Authorities helped him re-enter the system. While waiting, he heard a voice on a television say something that hit him harder than any storm. Why wait? The world won't die. That was enough. He shouldered his pack again. This time, the destination was clear. Alaska. But before that final journey, life placed a few more people in his path. People who tried, in their own quiet ways, to anchor him. Including a girl with a voice full of sadness, and an old man who had lost everything and still believed in forgiveness. And those encounters would matter more than Caleb ever realized. Because when you walk away from the world long enough, the world eventually asks why. And sometimes, the answer costs everything. By the time Caleb Reed reached the desert town everyone called Dust Fall, he had already learned one important rule of the road. The longer you stay somewhere, the harder it gets to leave. Dust Fall wasn't really a town, not in the normal sense. It was a loose collection of trailers, rusted vans, shipping containers stacked like forgotten thoughts. People lived there because rent was cheap, rules were optional, and nobody asked too many questions. At night, fires burned. Guitars came out. Stories spilled easier than alcohol. It was the kind of place Caleb usually avoided. Which is exactly why he stayed. He spotted Lena and Mark's RV the first night he arrived. They recognized him instantly. Surprise turned into laughter, laughter into hugs. They pulled him into their circle like no time had passed. That night, music filled the air. Someone handed Caleb a beer. He took one sip, then set it down, forgotten. He wasn't here for that. That's when he heard her. Her voice wasn't polished. It cracked in places. Drifted off key just enough to feel real. She sang like someone asking questions instead of giving answers. Her name was Maya. She noticed him watching, smiled halfway through the song, like she already knew something about him. The next morning, she walked right up to him. "You're the quiet one," she said. "Quiet people usually run the deepest." Caleb laughed. "Or they just don't have much to say." Maya shrugged. "Same thing." They walked. Talked. Climbed a hill covered in old graffiti and sun-faded paint. She told him she'd grown up fast. "I've loved hard. I've learned the wrong lessons from the right people." Caleb listened. That's what he was good at. Over the next few days, they were inseparable. Not in a dramatic way. No promises. No labels. Just long walks, shared silence, laughter that surprised them both. But every morning, Caleb woke up early. Every night, he packed his bag just a little tighter. Maya noticed. "So what are you training for?" she asked one afternoon, watching him run until his lungs burned. Didn't they look at her? "Alaska." She nodded slowly. "You love it already." "Eitho. You've never been. Don't they matter?" She understood more than she wanted to. Lena pulled Caleb aside one night by the fire. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes were sharp. "You don't have to keep leaving," she said. "You help people. You change things." Caleb stared into the flames. "I'm not here to stay. That's what scares me." When he finally went to say goodbye to Maya, she was ready. Backpack packed. Shoes on. But Caleb didn't step closer. Not because he didn't want her. Because he did. And that terrified him. They stood there, words stuck between them, until Maya finally smiled, forced but kind. "If you ever find what you're looking for," she said, "don't pretend it wasn't the people." She handed him a small bundle before turning away. A knitted cap and even stitches. Soft. It didn't they open it until later. It left dusk fall before sunrise. Again. A few weeks later, an old man flagged him down on a quiet road. Sick hands. San Beatritzken. Ice that had seen too much and survived anyway. His name was Walter. Walter had been a soldier once. Lost his wife and son in an accident years ago, built a small workshop and buried himself in work ever since. He invited Caleb to stay. They were opposites. Caleb restless. Walter rooted. One chasing horizons. The other afraid to look past his fence. They made things together. Leather straps. Tools. Belts carved with stories. At night, they talked. Walter asked questions most people avoided. "What are you running from?" Caleb smiled. "What are you hiding from?" Walter laughed, then fell quiet. One day, standing on a mountaintop Walter had never climbed before, breathing hard, he felt something crack open inside him. Happiness. Real happiness. Later, driving Caleb down the road, Walter said it plainly. "I want to adopt you." The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Caleb hesitated. "You think about it," he said. He didn't know it was the last time they'd speak. Because some journeys don't allow detours. And Alaska was calling louder than ever. By the time Caleb Reed finally reached the edge of the frozen north, winter hadn't fully arrived yet, but it was close enough that the land already felt like it was holding its breath. It had the knitted cap Maya had made him to a tree at the trailhead, like a marker, or maybe a promise, then stepped into the water without hesitation. The river was colder than pain. It climbed his legs, bit into his knees, stole his breath. He laughed out loud, half from shock, half from relief. He had made it. For weeks after that, the wilderness treated him gently. Almost kindly. As if it wanted him to believe this was what he had been searching for all along. He found an abandoned bus tucked deep in the trees, rusted and silent, but solid. A roof. A stove. A place to sleep without fear. Caleb called it home. Days blurred together. He woke with the sun. Cooked what little he had. Walked for hours just to feel his body move through space. There were no voices here, no expectations, no past chasing him down. For the first time in his life, he felt clean. He talked to the land sometimes. To the sky. To no one. He read books by fading light and underlined passages about happiness, about simplicity, about giving without asking anything back. He believed he had won. Then hunger showed up. At first it was manageable. Birds. A small game. Used enough. His body grew thinner, but his spirit stayed high. He told himself this was purification. Proof. One afternoon, he saw it. A massive elk, standing still, unaware. Caleb froze. His hands shook as he lifted the rifle. This was survival. This was necessity. Then he noticed the calf. Something in him cracked. He lowered the gun. Later, starvation made him cruel to himself for that mercy. When he finally did kill an elk weeks later, he cried afterward, not from guilt, but from panic. He worked fast, clumsy, inexperienced. Tried to preserve the meat. Tried to do everything right. Nature doente forgave effort. The meat spoiled. McGoats claimed it before he could. He screamed into the trees, punched the bus wall until his knuckles bled, then sat down and stared at the ground like a child who had broken something precious. Thought became memory. The river he had crossed so confidently began to swell with snowmelt. What had once reached his knees now roared waist-high, fast and violent. He tried to cross once, slipped, barely grabbed a branch in time. That night, rain hammered the bus roof. For the first time since leaving home, Caleb felt afraid. Not of dying. Of being alone while doing it. Irrationed. Read. Slept too much. His body shrank. His thoughts slowed. He pulled his belt tighter. Then tighter again. One morning, desperate, he found berries he recognized from a guidebook. Or thought he did. He ate them greedily. The sickness came fast. Pain. Numbness. A hunger that grew sharper instead of fading. He flipped through the book with shaking hands and realized the mistake. Wrong plant. Poison. He laughed. A dry, broken sound. So this is it, he whispered. Days passed in fragments. He wrote when he could. Read when his eyes worked. At some point, he scrawled a sentence in the margin of a book, the letters uneven, desperate. Happiness is only real when shared. The truth hit him like a wave. It wasn't the money that poisoned his childhood. It wasn't the society. It wasn't his parents' lies. It was isolation. People weren't the cage. They were the key. He thought of Maya's voice. Of Lena's fiery tears. Of Walter on that mountain, smiling like a man reborn. Of his sister, who always understood him better than anyone else. He cried then. Fully. Una samith. Quiet tears soaking into a dirty pillow. On his last morning, the sun poured through the bus windows, warm and gentle. Caleb cleaned himself as best he could. Changed into fresh clothes. Laid down. He reached out toward the lad like he could touch it. And then he was gone. Weeks later, a hunter found the bus. The photos Caleb had taken told the rest. Back in the world he had left behind, life continued. Lena and Mark settled somewhere warmer. Maya kept singing. Walter sold his workshop and started traveling. Caleb's parents aged overnight, grief finally burning through everything money had failed to fix. And somewhere between mountains and cities, between wilderness and home, Caleb Reed became a question instead of a person. Was he brave? Was he foolish? Was he free? Maybe all of it. His story doente asks us to abandon everything. It asks us to examine why we want to. It reminds us that independence without connection is just another form of loneliness. We all carry a little of Caleb inside us. That urge to run. To strip life down to something pure. To believe the answer is somewhere else. But maybe the answer was never Alaska. Maybe it was always each other. If you made it this far, thank you for sitting with this story. I'd really love to know what you think. Was Caleb chasing freedom, or running from love? Would you have made the same choices, or stopped when someone reached out? Share your thoughts in the comments, talk to each other, disagree if you need to, and if this story moved you even a little, consider sharing it with someone who might need it. Thanks for listening.